The Thursday Gentlemen. 1. The Thursday Gentlemen. Hidden deep in the Sewon arcade alleys stood Old Ground Restaurant. A humble home-style eatery that had weathered over 50 years in the same spot. The faded letters on the worn signboard had half disappeared, and the narrow staircase leading to the second floor always glowed with dim fluorescent light. Yet the regulars who sought this place out treasured its flavors more than any upscale restaurant. The restaurant was now run by Kim Mi-seon and her daughter Eun-ji. It had been 25 years since Mi-seon inherited this establishment from her mother. Even after graduating from university, Eun-ji had chosen to stay by her mother's side, becoming the third generation to keep this restaurant alive. "Mom, do you think that old gentleman will come again today?" Eun-ji asked while wiping down a table. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. when the lunch rush subsided and the restaurant grew quiet, an elderly man would unfailingly appear. The gentleman, who looked to be in his 70s, would always arrive impeccably dressed in a suit, walking with a cane. He would invariably sit at the same corner table by the window and order only one dish kimchi stew. "He'll come. It's been 3 months now," Mi-seon replied from the kitchen. When the old man first visited, they had assumed he was just a chance customer. But as they watched him return week after week, same day, same time, same seat, same order, mother and daughter's curiosity grew deeper. At 2 p.m., as expected, the old man opened the restaurant door. "Welcome," Eun-ji greeted him warmly. The old man nodded with a smile. As always, he headed toward the corner table by the window, his retreating figure carrying a hint of loneliness. "One kimchi stew, please." "Coming right up." As Eun-ji relayed the order to the kitchen, Mi-seon began preparing the kimchi stew with practiced skill. This restaurant's kimchi stew held a secret recipe passed down through 3 generations. They used kimjang kimchi mixed with properly aged kimchi, tender pork shoulder, and finished with a drop of perilla oil for a nutty richness. While the kimchi stew bubbled away, Eun-ji discreetly observed the old man. He was gazing out the window at the old Sewon arcade buildings and narrow alleyways. What was he seeing out there? His eyes held both longing and wistfulness. "Sir, your kimchi stew is ready." Eun-ji set the earthenware pot on the table. The old man bowed his head in gratitude and slowly picked up his spoon. The moment he brought a spoonful of kimchi stew to his mouth, Eun-ji noticed his eyes trembling ever so slightly. It was an expression suggesting long-buried memories flooding back. The old man spent nearly an hour eating the kimchi stew slowly, so very slowly. He alternated between spoonfuls of rice and stew, savoring each moment, as if treasuring time itself. After finishing his meal, he would gaze out the window for a while before rising from his seat. "Thank you for the meal. I'll see you next week," the old man said while paying. He always placed down exactly one 10,001 bill and declined the change. "Thank you. Please take care." After the old man left, Eun-ji and Mi-seon exchanged glances. "Don't you think there's a story there, Mom?" "I do. The way he comes every week at the same time and orders only kimchi stew." 2. Kimchi stew. The following Thursday, the old man returned without fail. Same seat, same order. Eun-ji decided to gather her courage and strike up a conversation. "Sir, is our kimchi stew really that good?" The old man paused with his spoon and looked at Eun-ji. A gentle smile spread across his face. "The taste is wonderful, but this flavor holds special meaning for me." "Special meaning? I used to come to this restaurant often. A very long time ago." Eun-ji's eyes widened. Mi-seon was also listening intently from the kitchen. "Really? When was that?" "It must have been over 50 years ago. Back then, this restaurant was much smaller than it is now. There were only 4 or 5 tables." Longing tinged the old man's voice. "Wow, so you've been coming since my grandmother's time." "That's right. The owner back then was such a kind woman. She would give generous portions to poor students." Mi-seon emerged from the kitchen to join the conversation. "Do you remember my mother then? She was short and always wore an apron." "I remember her. She passed away quite some time ago, didn't she?" "Yes, about 15 years ago. Shortly after I took over the restaurant." The old man closed his eyes briefly. "I see. She was a good person." Eun-ji asked cautiously. "Sir, who did you come here with back then?" A friend? The old man's expression stiffened momentarily before softening again. You could call her a friend. A very precious friend. He said no more, but from his gaze, Eun-ji could sense there was a deeper story. 3. Black and white photograph. That evening, Eun-ji and Mi-seon talked about the old man. Mom, did you see his expression? He definitely used to come here with someone he loved. It seemed that way, but why does he come alone now? Did they break up? Or did she pass away? Coming every Thursday at the same time must mean something. Maybe that's when they used to meet. Eun-ji pulled out her phone and began taking notes. Let's organize what we know about him. First, he came here often 50 years ago. Second, he was a student then. Third, he came with someone very precious to him. Fourth, now he comes alone. Fifth, he always orders only kimchi stew. Kimchi stew seems to be the key. It must have been the dish they ate together. Ha ha ha, Eun-ji said with a laugh. A few days later, Eun-ji went through her mother's old photo albums. They were filled with pictures from when her grandmother ran the restaurant. In the black and white photographs, the restaurant looked truly small. Just a cramped space with a few worn tables. One photograph caught Eun-ji's attention. The picture, appearing to be from the 1970s, showed a young man and woman seated at a restaurant table. The man had an angular face with short hair. The woman wore her long hair straight with a white blouse. Both looked to be around 20 years old. Before them sat an earthenware pot of kimchi stew. Mom, look at this photo. Mi-seon examined the picture. Ah, that's from when Grandma would take photos of regular customers. She would occasionally photograph them when they visited. Could this man be that gentleman? I don't know. Can you recognize someone after 50 years? But Eun-ji felt it instinctively. The eyes of the man in the photograph resembled those of the old man today, that same depth and earnestness. 4. First love. The following Thursday, Eun-ji carefully tucked the photograph into her bag. At 2 p.m., the old man entered. Same seat, same order. While the old man ate his kimchi stew, Eun-ji debated internally. Should she show him the photograph? Would it make him uncomfortable? But her curiosity won out. As the old man nearly finished his meal, Eun-ji approached. Sir, I'm sorry to bother you, but could you look at this photograph? Eun-ji carefully held out the picture. The old man took it, and his hands began to tremble. This. Where did you? My grandmother took this photo. She would occasionally photograph regular customers. The old man studied the picture for a long time. His eyes reddened. This still existed. Is this you, sir? The old man slowly nodded. This is me from 50 years ago. And this person is. He pointed to the woman in the photograph and stopped speaking. After a long silence, he slowly began. This was my first love. Mi-seon also came out from the kitchen to listen. The old man set down the photograph and began his story while gazing out the window. Her name was Choi Eun-hae. I was a third-year university student. Eun-hae was in her second year. We attended a nearby university and would come to this restaurant almost every day after classes. Every day? Yes. There weren't many decent restaurants around here back then. And the kimchi stew here was truly delicious. We would always order one kimchi stew and share it between us. We were poor students with no money. A gentle smile spread across the old man's face. Eun-hae loved mixing rice into the kimchi stew. I preferred eating it plain. We would always bicker about such things. But that made us happy. Is there a reason you come on Thursdays? Thursday afternoon was when we both had no classes. So on Thursdays we would come here past lunchtime, leisurely eat and talk. Right at this very spot. Eun-ji understood. That's why the gentleman always insisted on that particular seat. 5. Separation. But then, Mi-seon asked cautiously, why do you come alone now? What about her? The old man's expression darkened. We parted ways. A very long time ago. He paused briefly before continuing. After I graduated from university, I went into the military. For 2 years we exchanged letters and waited. We had promised to marry when I returned from service. But what happened? Eun-hae came from a wealthy family. I was the son of a poor household. Eun-hae's parents didn't approve of our relationship. But they tolerated it because Eun-hae was so stubborn. The old man clenched his fist. But while I was in the military, Eun-hae's father became gravely ill. Their business struggled too. At that time, a family with business ties to Eun-hae's family proposed marriage. Of course, it was a family that could provide substantial business support. Surely not. Eun-hae refused at first, I'm told. But watching her father's condition worsen and her family crumbling, she eventually agreed to the marriage. It was 1 month before my discharge. Tears welled in Eun-ji's eyes. Then when I returned from military service, I received a letter from Eun-hae. It was brief, I'm sorry. Please live happily. I felt like I was losing my mind. The old man's voice trembled. I went to find Eun-hae. But the wedding had already taken place. Eun-hae wouldn't see me. I was angry. I felt betrayed. So I made a decision. I would succeed spectacularly and make Eun-hae regret her choice. 6. Success. So I worked myself to the bone. The old man continued. I got a job at a small trading company and worked day and night. No weekends. Nothing but work. After working like that for 10 years, I had saved enough money to strike out on my own and start my own company. You must have succeeded. Yes, I was lucky too. The company grew rapidly, and within 20 years it reached mid-sized enterprise status. I became chairman and bought a large house in Gangnam. I had achieved the success I wanted to show Eun-hae. Did you marry? I married at 35. It was an arranged marriage to a decent woman. We had a son and our marriage was satisfactory. My wife passed away 5 years ago. And you forgot your first love? The old man smiled bitterly. I tried to forget her. I never came to this restaurant. When I passed through this area, I would deliberately take a different route. I was afraid memories of Eun-hae would resurface. Afraid I would remember the taste of this kimchi stew. But now you come. Yes. Last year I handed the company over to my son and retired. Looking back over a life of 70 years running at full speed made me realize something. The old man's gaze deepened. That my success was because of Eun-hae. If Eun-hae hadn't left me, I would have lived an ordinary life. The anger and desire for revenge toward Eun-hae drove me this far. Ironically, she gave me the greatest gift. Mi-seon nodded understandingly. So that's why you started coming back to this restaurant. Yes. Now I don't resent Eun-hae. Rather, I'm grateful. And I miss the time we spent together. Those days when we were poor but happy. Don't you want to see her again? Eun-ji asked. The old man thought for a moment and shook his head. No. Isn't that why you come here? No. The old man said firmly. I don't want to meet her. Or rather, it's better if we don't meet. Why? We're already old. We would only disappoint each other. We would see only wrinkled elderly people, not the 20-year-old youths in our memories. The old man looked at the photograph again. I want to remember Eun-hae looking like this. Wearing a white blouse, eating kimchi stew, and smiling. That's more beautiful. Eun-ji and Mi-seon couldn't find words. So I come here every week. At this spot where we used to sit, eating the kimchi stew. We shared, I think of Eun-hae. Perhaps Eun-hae occasionally visits this place too. But I hope we don't meet. It's enough to remember each other. While eating the same food at the same place. This photograph, you may keep it, Eun-ji said, sliding the picture across the table toward the old man. May I really? The old man hesitated before picking up the photograph and slowly placing it in his jacket's inner pocket. 7. Hospitalization. After that day, Eun-ji and Mi-seon saw the old man with new eyes. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. when the old man entered the restaurant, they prepared the kimchi stew with even greater care, following grandmother's secret recipe with devoted attention. Sir, how is today's kimchi stew? Perfect as always, just like the taste from 50 years ago. Really? Even though I made it? The taste is the same. But now I sense more within that flavor. I see youth, I see love, I see regret. I see life itself. Winter passed and spring arrived. The old man still visited every Thursday. But as spring deepened, Eun-ji and Mi-seon noticed the old man growing gradually thinner. Sir, are you feeling unwell? When you get old, aches and pains naturally appear everywhere. The old man spoke casually, but his coughing grew progressively worse. Are you seeing a doctor? I am. The doctor told me I don't have much time left. What? Eun-ji cried out in shock. The old man smiled. It's all right. If you live for over 70 years, that's enough. I achieved what I wanted and passed on a good company to my son. But, don't worry, I'm happy, especially because I was able to find this restaurant again. To spend my final moments with beautiful memories. What a tremendous blessing that is. One Thursday in May, the old man arrived earlier than usual. Sir, you're early today. This may be my last visit. Last visit? Starting next week, I need to be hospitalized. I probably won't be able to come for a while. Tears welled in Eunji's eyes. Sir, don't cry, I'm fine. I'm just grateful I could come here until the very end. The old man ordered kimchi stew that day as well. He ate even more slowly than usual, savoring each bite. Every spoonful was a memory. When the old man tried to pay after finishing his meal, Mi-son waved her hand. Today is our treat. I couldn't possibly. Thank you for sharing your beautiful love story with us. It deeply moved both my daughter and me. The old man expressed his gratitude and rose from his seat. Before leaving, he looked around the restaurant once more. Being able to return here after 50 years and relive beautiful memories. And meeting such wonderful people. Thank you. Sir, please come back again. We'll be waiting. The old man smiled, nodded, and slowly descended the stairs. 8. Letter. June arrived. When 2 p.m. came on Thursday, the old man didn't appear. The next week was the same, and the week after that. Eunji and Mi-son worried but had no way to contact him. One day in July, a young man in a suit came to the restaurant. Do you know an elderly gentleman named Lee Kong-min? Yes, he used to come every Thursday. How do you know him? I'm his son. Eunji and Mi-son's faces stiffened. My father passed away last week. Oh, while organizing his belongings, I found my father's diary. There were many entries about this place. I think these past few months were the happiest time of his life. The man took out an envelope. My father left this behind. He asked me to give it to you. Inside the envelope was a letter and that old photograph. To the owner and daughter of Old Ground Restaurant. Though our connection was brief. Thank you for making the end of my life beautiful. Thank you for allowing me to relive memories from 50 years ago. And for listening to my story. And this photograph brought me great joy. I never dreamed I would see her faded image again. Thank you for reviving these precious memories. Thank you once more to your grandmother, who took and preserved this photograph, and to all of you. I can no longer keep it, so I return it to you. May this restaurant prosper for many years to come. And may all who visit here create happy memories. With gratitude, Lee Kong-min. Eunji and Mi-son shed tears. Until the end, my father talked about this place. How he missed the taste of the kimchi stew. How he wanted to look out the window from that seat. Sir, knowing my father was happy here brings me comfort. Thank you. After the son left, Eunji and Mi-son stood silently, gazing at the corner table by the window for a long time. That seat was empty now, but it felt as though the love from 50 years ago still lingered there. 9. Beautiful encounter. August arrived. One Thursday at 2 p.m., an elderly woman entered the restaurant. The woman, who appeared to be in her early 70s, wore refined clothing and carried herself with elegance. Welcome, Eunji greeted her. The woman briefly looked around the restaurant, before pointing to the corner table by the window. May I sit there? Of course. The woman took that seat. Eunji handed her a menu. What would you like to order? One kimchi stew, please. Eunji's heart began to race. Could it be? Mi-son prepared the kimchi stew with devoted care. As she carried the earthenware pot to the table, the elderly woman was gazing out the window. That posture seemed somehow familiar. Your kimchi stew is ready. Thank you. The woman took a spoonful of kimchi stew and put it in her mouth. Then she closed her eyes. After a long moment, when she slowly opened them, tears glistened in her eyes. The taste is exactly the same. Just like it was back then. The woman murmured. Eunji and Mi-son exchanged glances. The woman ate slowly for quite some time. Even after finishing her meal, she didn't leave her seat, but continued gazing out the window. From the kitchen, voices could be heard, Eunji and Mi-son talking. Mom, could she be? It's possible. The age matches. How should we ask? Let's be careful. The woman had been listening to their conversation. Her heart raced. So he had come here. Every Thursday at 2 p.m. At the time we used to share. Excuse me, may I ask you something? Eun-ji approached cautiously. Yes, please do. By any chance, is your name Choi Eun-hae? The woman's hands trembled. A brief silence fell. Yes, that's right. How did you know? Eun-ji took out the photograph and showed it to her. The woman took the picture and studied it for a long time. This photograph was here. An elderly gentleman left it here. Lee Kong-min? Yes, do you know him? The woman nodded. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I knew that he had come back here. You knew? I found out by chance. A few months ago, I was passing through this area and saw him going into this restaurant. I didn't have the courage to follow him in. The woman wiped her tears with a handkerchief. So I came back the following week. I watched from a distance him going into and leaving the restaurant. Every Thursday, I just watched him from afar. Why didn't you come in? I lacked courage, and if I met him, I didn't know what to say. How could I explain leaving him 50 years ago? The woman continued, my married life wasn't bad. My husband was a good man. But I could never forget Lee Kong-min. Sometimes when I passed near this restaurant, I wanted to go in. But I couldn't. Mr. Lee, he passed away last month. The woman's face hardened. I know. I saw the obituary. He talked about you. Eun-ji shared what the old man had said. The woman shed tears at every word. He didn't resent me, was even grateful. He didn't want to meet you. He said he didn't want to disappoint each other by seeing how we'd aged. That he wanted to cherish the beautiful image from memory. The woman looked at the photograph again. He was right. We're already old and much changed. But, the woman smiled. The Lee Kong-min in my heart is still the young man in this photograph. And the me in his heart must be this image too. That's enough. The woman paid and stood up. Thank you for keeping this restaurant. For allowing our memories from 50 years ago to remain here. Please come again. The woman shook her head. No, today is my last visit. I want to leave only his memories here. I'll live keeping him in my heart. The woman opened the restaurant door and left. Eun-ji and Mi-seon watched her through the window. The woman paused in front of the building. She looked up at the second-floor restaurant. Her eyes were filled with tears, but a smile spread across her face. Goodbye, Kong-min. Rest peacefully wherever you are. The woman whispered softly. Then she slowly walked away and disappeared into the narrow alleyway. Her retreating figure looked lonely yet somehow peaceful. 10. The Seat of Love. Inside the restaurant, Eun-ji and Mi-seon stood in silence. That two people could live separate lives, yet never forget each other even after 50 years. That until the end, they wanted to remember each other beautifully. They realized this was love. Mom, yes, what is love? Mi-seon looked at the corner table by the window. Love is something that doesn't change with time. Even when you can't meet. Even when you can't be together, it remains in your heart. And the desire to make that person happy even if it differs from your own happiness. Were they happy, the old man and woman? They must have been, each in their own way. Because after 50 years they could meet again through this restaurant's kimchi stew, even though they never faced each other directly. Eun-ji picked up the photograph on the table. The young man and woman in the picture were smiling happily. Steam rose gently from the earthenware pot of kimchi stew before them. Let's frame this photo and hang it by that table, Mom. Yes, to remember their love, and so that everyone who comes here can create happy memories. A few days later, a small frame appeared on the wall by the corner window table. A photograph of a young man and woman from 50 years ago. Smiling over kimchi stew. Below it was a small plaque. This is the seat of love. In 1976, two young souls shared their love at this place. Their love remains here even now, 50 years later. After that day, the table became popular with couples. People would hear the story, sit at that seat, eat kimchi stew, and share their own love stories. Sometimes Eun-ji gazes at that seat and wonders, have Lee Kong-min and Choi Eun-hae met again somewhere? Have they returned to their youth, eating kimchi stew together and laughing? She hopes so, though it was a love unfulfilled in reality. Their hearts were together for life. And that love will be remembered forever in this small restaurant. Deep in the Sewon arcade alleys, at the 50-year-old home-style eatery, old ground restaurant, kimchi stew still bubbles away today. Within that kimchi stew is love, the love from 50 years ago. And the love of all who visit this place now. Every Thursday at 2 p.m., sunlight streams through the window onto the corner table. In that light, the young man and woman in the photograph are smiling. Forever. The end.